Science jerks. Science jerks. Science jerks. The rate of change in acceleration of science. Science
Welcome to the
jerks.
Science Jerks. This is Dave Chacho. I'm here with my co-host Robert Chan.
Hi.
And we are back with our guest Jacob Harper.
Hello, how's everyone doing?
You may remember him from a few days ago.
From such things as the Science Jerks.
Such
From
things as
Tuesday.
3 days ago.
Just a few seconds ago, recording time, but a few days ago in podcast time.
Or from such shows as...
Super Kudzu, which is my sketch show.
Live sketch comedy at the iOS.
It is true.
Do you guys have a YouTube video page, a Funny or Die page?
We have a Funny or Die page where we put up the funny videos, and yeah, we do
And where do you put the death videos?
we put the death videos.
death videos.
We just delete those with little fanfare, and we have a monthly show over at the IO, and then just generally walking around trying to be a funny person.
Just on the streets of LA.
Just on the streets of LA.
Hey, can I tell you a joke?
I don't want anything in return. I just want to tell a joke.
How is that distinguished from panhandling? Just out
It's-
of curiosity. Because there's a lot of really witty panhandling.
I was going to say I make
streets.
people feel more uncomfortable because they don't know what I want yet.
Spare laughs.
Like, sorry, I don't have any money for you. I don't want money.
We'll get to what I want later.
Just pay attention to the game of this sketch for 3 to 5 minutes.
And then I ask them for notes. And
Was that a good heightening on the third beat there? Get away from me.
Apiology.
You guys, bees are awesome.
I was really hoping that you were just going to change the subject after that.
So now let's talk about technology.
Gosh, I do not remember the name of the author now, but there was a book called Robbing the Bees that I read many years ago, and I just absolutely fell in love with bees, which you don't really think of very often. Most people didn't think about it until the bees started disappearing a few years back, and turns out bees are super important for things like agriculture, because what farmers will do is they'll truck in a big old load of bees, and they'll pollinate all of their vegetables and stuff, and
Apparently they play a role in sex, as far as I can.
also that for teaching
Like our
fourth
sex
graders,
or
It's something to do.
sex?
just as a teaching mechanism.
From what I've heard, there's
Because if you just explain
bees
to your children
involved and
the birds,
birds
they
do
all grow up
something.
gay.
Because birds don't fuck.
No. They just lay eggs,
Yeah.
and then the male fucking frottage basically jerks
right,
off onto the
frottage.
eggs.
I was trying to think of a name for that.
That's kind of how bees work too, isn't it?
That is basically how bees
Queen
work.
lays a bunch of eggs,
Well,
and
no.
then some drones
They
jack
have-
off on them.
They have big group sex orgies, is what they do. That's what that hive is. It's just nonstop Studio 54 action there. It's like the dances.
I remember
Yeah,
the dances.
yeah. Okay, good. Glad we're all on top.
A lot of cocaine in the beehive circles.
So, bees are fascinating, and they've been doing some experiments about bee intelligence, because basically we know about the concept of a hive mind, that bees are intelligent en masse. Altogether, they have a collective amount of information, like they can tell you how to, get to a particular flower that's full of pollen, that sort of thing. But they started doing experiments with individual bees, because why the fuck not? We've got this lab. Let's run some bees through some crazy tests.
Fuck with the bees.
Let's fuck with the bees. What they found, among other things, is that bees have a number of behaviors that are pretty astonishing. They figure an average rabbit has about 30 distinct behaviors, things that they do that you're going to, some
Pilates,
of it's instinctual, but
yoga,
also rabbit Pilates,
running
is fucking
around.
crazy.
No, my brother used to own a rabbit. They don't do shit. They're awful pets.
They
If you're
gnaw
ever thinking
things.
about getting a rabbit for a pet, don't get one.
So soft, but that's the extent of it.
Well, and they don't even like to be petted, though.
Oh,
but,
man.
But one of their 30 things is pooping their
Yeah,
little
pooping,
round
yeah.
rabbit poops and eating it. And they
Nice.
do that, and they chew stuff
chewing
up,
through cables.
chewing through cables, and just
I
like,
did an editing job for a guy who had rabbits and brought some equipment over, and lo and behold, all of the cables got chewed through at some point.
So a rabbit has 30 things that it does.
Rabbits got 30, beavers got about 50. Bees have at least 60
I've seen
separate
beavers
behaviors.
do lots.
60 separate behaviors.
Yes, well trained.
let that go.
The ping pong balls and whatnot.
Do you happen to have some of
I've seen him
these
smoke
ones that they
cigarettes.
found that, like, an individual, when you separate a bee away from his bee friends, what are some of the things that a bee will do?
Well, a lot of them are the dances, like different kinds of dances, directional things. They did some tests on them to figure out how their intelligence functions. Like, they tried to figure out how a bee tells distance to objects, and they found that it wasn't a distance thing, like it's 4.5 miles away, go this way. They go by landmarks.
use kilometer.
Bees use the metric system, so it's just completely incomprehensible to Americans anyway.
Communists.
They use landmarks. They put a bunch of tents out in a field to try and figure out, like how that changes their dance, rather than saying distance. Like 4 blue tents. They can tell symmetry if you train them to look for the reward underneath a symmetrical sign rather than an asymmetrical sign. They will do that. They can distinguish shapes. They can distinguish numbers. So if you show them 3 diamonds and then show them 3 leaves, they will go to the 3 leaf ones, rather than just saying, like, this one picture is equal to the reward, so they look for that one picture.
And this is individual bees, right?
Yes,
or is this a
individual bees.
group of bees?
No. You take a
So
bee.
a bee can pick out numbers. Somewhere in this article, it said that they can count to 4.
Yeah, that's kind of their limit. Beyond that,
4 is the highest number to a bee.
Yes.
Yes,
The
Because-
1, 2, 3, 4, many. The counting system.
Okay, yeah, bees are smart, but also they're teeny tiny. We have about 85 billion brain cells, and they have fewer than 1 million.
Stupid fucking bees.
Idiots.
But the thing is, the reason why they're able to make them work is because the distances between the neurons are so much smaller that you don't lose as much information. Kind of like playing that game of telephone. Like, over a long distance, the information gets lost. But because they're right next to each other, you can get more information.
So they got a little Manhattan brain right there,
Yes.
like where everything, you just get to it right away.
They can store less details, but they're just sharp as hell.
Sharp as shit. They possess the power of metacognition.
Does that mean they can predict the future?
I'm scared already.
That's precognition. Thinking about thinking. That's something that, we sort of associate it with, like I think, therefore I am. The way they tested this is they taught bees easy tricks and hard tricks and send them off, and send them down a little pathway, and like, okay, to the left is an easy trick, to the right there's a hard trick. And then they started putting things up like, here's a really hard trick, and they gave them an escape hatch. So if a bee thought that it couldn't do the difficult task, if it thought about it and, thought about its abilities and,
So they're
could it do this thing?
aware of their own limitations.
Yes.
Self-doubt. A self-doubting bee.
A little existential bees.
I was just about to say, a bee with existential angst. The bee that is given up.
There must be. I wonder if there's little bee alternative comedy clubs where angsty bees just.
Well,
go.
you've already separated him, so he's going to be doing his loner stand-up already. You've taken him out of that hive mind. He was in this nice little improv environment.
If you figure, like, most hives are just one big club anyway, there's gotta be those few bees are like, man, I don't dance. I'm just gonna go hang out in the corner and
Man,
think
that
about
dance
stuff.
club is a meat market. I'm gonna be a writer. Gas station in space.
Exogeology.
Fucking Chevron.
This is Chacho with Chan and our guest Jacob Harper.
Hello.
You might be familiar with the Horsehead Nebula.
Oh, yeah.
It's one of the most photographed pictures in space.
It was on my dorm roommate's computer right underneath the fish picture of nectar poster.
I think it
remember
actually
well.
is one of the standard Mac backgrounds that comes with your operating system.
It's right next to the Mafia Nebula.
I always thought it was super ugly, though, and I was always wondering when it was going to get a gas station.
Because a gas station would beautify it?
Yeah,
That's how you know that you've made it, when you get a gas station in your neighborhood.
Well, somebody was doing some spectral analysis of the Horsehead Nebula, and lo and behold, there seems to be petroleum.
Hell yeah, drill!
Drill, baby, drill. The Horsehead Nebula.
I don't even know how, just make it happen.
How do we get petroleum?
Crude oil is a conglomerate of a bunch of different things, but
A bunch of,
mainly
like,
it consists
organic
of
materials that are like compressed
hydrocarbons. Is the basis of
Okay.
fossil fuels is hydrocarbons, which is molecules that are made up of only carbon and hydrogen. It might be CH3 or it might be C50H 100 or whatever. They can make really long strands of carbons and hydrogens. And
CCH pounder.
could be CHCCHHHCH. Could be CHCCH. You want to go through all?
I
let's
trust
go
you.
through all the different possible combinations. But they're saying they're finding simple hydrocarbons in the Horsehead Nebula, and they're calling it a petroleum factory or something. Basically, they're saying that it consists of these large carbonaceous molecules, whatever they might be, and
That sounds more like a soda can than a gas station.
Yeah, there's cola in the nebula apparently, and it's slowly being changed
Cola
into
and
petroleum.
And petroleum. We are set.
So, gasoline comes from soda.
Right. So, in the future, we'll be driving there and filling up our bellies and filling up our tanks and taking off. The radiation from neighboring stars is breaking down these carbon molecules and turning them into simple hydrocarbons. So the Horsehead Nebula is apparently producing fuel, which could be
Isn't like a carbohydrate is simple hydrocarbon too, right? I mean, are we talking like building blocks of life kind of?
Isn't there other things in carbohydrates?
Primordial soup kind of? Are you saying there's something other than hydrogen and carbon in a carbohydrate?
Carbohydrate.
Oh, actually, yeah, that might be oxygen. That
Might be some oxygen in there, or nitrogen.
Never mind.
I'm not sure, but this literally could mean that this is, literally a fuel depot. The Horsehead Nebula might be a place where we'll eventually fuel up.
How do you extract that? Like, how does this work? Like, there's petroleum in the Horsehead Nebula.
So nebula is a gas cloud, and they're saying there's possibly as much petroleum as 200 times the amount of water that's on Earth, which actually
That is a
Spread
lot.
across how many light
You're right.
years?
That doesn't actually sound like much. If we're talking,
So we're
about
going to need a big pipeline.
a giant
really big
area.
pipeline.
1,200 light years.
I feel like
long.
a vacuum cleaner, like the Spaceballs or something. And we would just go and suck up the nebula into the tank and
So we probably need to get started on this pretty soon.
go moving off towards Earth too.
Yeah, if we want to have gasoline, in time for the next election.
Because I'm not good at math, but 1,200 light years seems like a while, so we should probably...
This
Don't
is going to
worry,
be a
you're pretty low
contentious
head over
issue.
it.
Whether
If we
should,
want to reap the benefits of this, we got to get on it now.
should we preserve the classic horsehead shape of the nebula, or should we just suck it dry for fuel? A classic conservative versus liberal dilemma. One thing that occurred to me was, since it's such a recognizable shape, maybe it's an intergalactic logo for a petroleum company.
So we're pissing on like this gigantic conglomerate's logo. That is their thing.
Maybe that's what intergalactic fuel depots look like. They look
Or
like
did we
horse
just
heads.
blow your mind.
It would be awesome if we found like 8 more Horsehead nebulas in 8 different directions.
That would be awesome and horrifying. More horrifying than awesome. Just gonna put that out there. To think that as inhumane and monstrous as BP is here on Earth, to imagine an intergalactic version.
There's
of that.
one
Yes.
way bigger. There's a way bigger BP out there.
Because we were talking about that in the last podcast about how, criminally underfunded NASA is, so that wouldn't a private company be the first one to take advantage
make
of this?
it to the
and then
nebula.
how do you do anything about that? How do you stop BP from we're going to the Horsehead
going
Nebula?
intergalactic?
You can't do that. You can't tell me what the fuck to do. You don't own the Horsehead Nebula.
Look at me. I'm gonna make the star go nova. What the fuck are you gonna do about it?
Who's gonna fucking stop me?
I don't see no cops in the Horsehead Nebula.
The results are in.
So here's the verdict on Mars. Chacho here with Chan, and we have Jordan Morris with us.
Hey.
From next week's podcast, but we're doing a little update and putting it in this week's podcast.
Because it's so important. NASA had a huge announcement.
A huge
and
announcement.
They announced it. Cydonia. They've discovered people there, living there and building shit and making faces on the planet.
Giant face factories.
Faces for everyone. Everyone gets a new face. You get a new face. You get a Mars face.
So what did they find? They found a little bit of water, which is cool. We kind of knew there was water there because they had seen ice on Mars before. And they have found organic compounds for the first time on Mars, which is pretty exciting because we've never found organic compounds outside of Earth before. But they're kind of hedging their bets, and they're kind of hemming and hawing, and they're going, We're not sure that this is organic compounds that didn't just fall off the rover and they scooped back up again.
So
A
somebody
bunch of old
forgot to-
bunch of old condoms.
They found a lot of...
NASA guys have been fucking and hiding their condoms.
It's kind of a wishy-washy announcement. They're saying they think they found organic matter, which is a methane compound. Yeah, chlorinated methane, which is chlorine and carbon and hydrogen. Pretty cool. It's kind of a building block of life. It would be evidence that maybe life might exist somewhere.
or maybe could exist, or
Could
possibly
exist.
did, but it certainly
Or
doesn't
maybe
right now.
something happened, or maybe they don't know if it's real. Or
Maybe if we shot Arnold up there, he would show us how to terraform the planet. Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Oh, yeah. You think we should
Wait,
Prometheus him, like the first scene of Prometheus? We
Oh
should just,
yeah, well,
like
Arnold Schwarzenegger can go up there
shoot him
with some sort
into
of dissolver, and his DNA can
He
seep
dissolves
into the Mars
himself
landscape.
into
I was actually
the
thinking of
water
the end
Mars.
of Star Trek 2.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Device. They actually had a little mini announcement earlier in the week, which was that they found ice on Mercury, which is crazy because it's right next to the goddamn sun.
And do they know that it's ice because Mercury has one of those color change strips like Coors Light?
Yes.
Okay.
They chucked one of those silver bullet cans onto Mercury.
Oh, okay.
They're like,
And then-
dude, yeah, that's blue. That's
Still cold.
There we go.
Still cold.
Okay.
Now who's gonna go get it?
I feel like that is a beer commercial. Like someone throws it onto the surface of Mercury and is like, well, I guess we better leave it behind. We can't leave a can of beer behind.
And then they look at Mercury through a telescope, and there's a bunch of like hot girls up there partying. Come hang out on Mercury.
If
On the
you want
hot
to
side,
use
'cause
these
they're
or
wearing
other
bikinis.
ideas, beer companies, give us a call and we will charge you a handsome sum.
We have tons of these ideas. All sorts of science-related beer ideas.
Because if there's
How
two
about-
things that go well together, it's
Beer
dudes who
by-
drink cheap beer and dudes who are into science.
And our next
These are the
idea-
same dudes, right?
Pretty much.
Hot girls with beer on Saturn. And our next idea,
I
hot
like it. I
girls
like
with
it.
beers
What else you got?
on
What else you got?
Neptune.
Okay. Little less
see.
impressed. Starting to get a
More
little less
ideas.
impressed.
Hot girls with beers on Pluto.
Okay, sounded like the same one. I will hear a few more. I will
Hot girls on Earth
hear. That's where I
with
live.
dudes.
Great.
And telescopes.
Oh, looking at hot girls on Saturn.
Yes.
I love 4 of those ideas. I'll buy 4 of those ideas. I'm an ad guy.
It's time for a quiz.
It's time for a quiz. We're back for part 2 of our quiz with our guest Jacob Harper and
Hello.
Quiz Master Lizzie E. Drop some knowledge on us, girl.
All right, next question in this infinite battle for knowledge.
right.
What is the name for the smallest unit of matter that we know of, which also makes up protons and neutrons? And if it were tried to be split in half, would only create more of?
Earthworms, if you rip them in half, they make 2 of them.
I feel like their things are slightly smaller than earthworms.
Not that I've ever seen.
Fair enough. What's the answer, Liz?
Quarks.
Bujing.
No.
The entire universe.
I got it. It's
They
this.
cannot be separated. If they're separated, they only attempt to make more and more quarks.
Is this a Deep Space Nine?
No, this is like
Quiz.
what Deep Space Nine type of theories were created from.
I remember an episode where they tried to separate Quark and he turned into 2 alternate
Turned into
reality
2
quarks. Next question.
A metamorphic rock is one that A, is formed as a result of heat or dirt, B, formed from deposition of sediment, C, fell from the space as a meteorite, or D, formed from cooled magma.
I remember this from elementary school.
Yeah. Or do you?
That doesn't mean I remember the answer.
All right, a metamorphic rock is one that is formed as a result of heat or pressure.
Is that 4?
A.
Yeah. Hey.
Woo!
Ooh, yes, I was.
I wrote 4, which wasn't even an option.
Next question.
All right, what is the most abundant element in the universe? Is it helium, hydrogen, carbon silicon, or hydrogen?
Wait a minute, what?
You said
Oh.
hydrogen twice.
I did. No, I meant to say only.
It's the most abundant element in this question. That's for sure.
The options are helium, hydrogen, or carbon silicon.
Or make up some fourth one that we know it's not.
Or bubblegum.
The answer is hydrogen.
I wanted to go on record that I knew that before the answer was blown.
It's a freebie for everybody.
All right. Question 9.
All right, question 9. Echidna, monotrim, and Allotira are all in the classifications of
Ooh.
Okay, before I give the answer, I'll give you a hint. This also another, in the examples, could be marsupial.
Marsupial?
Yep,
What's the answer?
I might be
the
right.
answer is mammal.
Oh, I was actually just about to write that.
Mammals.
When you said marsupial, it clicked. Because at first I just wrote Dave's mom because I couldn't think of like what because I was thinking of like the wrong.
So help me in the judging.
Squirrels. You wrote squirrels.
I want squirrels, which is a type of mammal. My mom is a mammal as well, so I think we all got it.
Here's the thing. I only knew that because of the "They Might Be Giants" song.
That-
they
that's what I was trying to
specifically
say. I was thinking of the-
echidnas.
These are all types of mammals.
Oh, we got one more question left. The
What's the
last
score
chance to
look like?
redeem. Oh no, we won't know that until the very
Oh
end.
boy.
All right, the last question for you people from the past is, what is known as the asteroid belt located between A, Mars and Jupiter, B, Earth and Mars, C, Jupiter and Saturn, or D, Venus and Earth? The answer is Mars and Jupiter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody cleaning house on that one.
I got that one correct.
Nice.
Boom. Telling up the scores.
Damn, did you get 9?
I got 9. Dave got 7. Jacob got 4. But a good.
I don't want to. I
A
don't.
solid
I don't.
4.
I don't want to talk.
You
about
called
this.
out Dave's mom. and
I did call out Dave's mom.
That should be a couple of points. I want to see these tests less skewed towards Chan's knowledge base. I think that Chan and the quizmaster are colluding.
We just want to move away from "They Might Be Giants" lyrics if at all possible. Although to be
No
fair,
questions about if the sun is a massive incandescent gas or not.
Okay, Quizmaster Liz, where can they find you online?
You can find me at 24starfleet on Twitter or Chupa Mother Flipping Cabra at Facebook.com. Mother with an A. Mother with an A.
Of course. I mean, that's a given.
Sure.
Astrotechnology.
Space elevators are coming soon.
Or
I hope.
spellevators, as they're known.
They're,
By
as
me.
they're known
By
nowhere.
no one. Somo and what was this? What's the new one? What's the new portmanteau? Somo and what's this portmanteau
Down at
that
So
you said?
Somo, we call them
Spellevators.
spellevators. Chacho here with my co-host Jan and Jacob Harper.
Hello.
I've been just doing research on space elevators because they're cool as hell.
Yeah, no, I'm fascinated by them and their applications for things like space mining asteroids and that sort of thing, and just getting shit up there.
Now, this has been an idea that's been around since the 1800s, actually, and we have the
Back then, of
technology
course,
to do
it was just like a hand crank to get up into space.
Yeah,
Run by steam power.
you had to take the stairs.
It was basically a space train. It was a train that went up instead of
That's I mean, that's
sideways.
pretty much what I'm picturing.
It was like an old tenant building. You just had to walk up. So what a space elevator is a 60,000-mile rope, basically, into space. So instead of shooting giant rockets that take 1 million gallons of fuel, you just have a machine that climbs the rope. And it takes a lot less energy to get up there.
and it stays up there because basically it's like when you take a
Centripetal
yo-yo
force.
and you just like spin it around.
So it's a centrifugal force.
Yeah.
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 So you stretch this rope out from somewhere near the equator, and at a point in geosynchronous orbit, you have a little space station, and then it keeps going, and it has a counterweight that goes another 20,000 miles or so. So the rope, I think geosynchronous orbit's like 22,000 miles, and then you need to go 2 times past that for the counterweight. So it's like as the Earth spins, it's flinging around this giant rope that's actually, I think, the rope itself is actually longer than the circumference of the Earth. So one
That's
of the
right.
things,
I'm just picturing it in my mind, and it seems silly. I don't know. I guess like.
Do you think the other planets will mock us if we just have ropes flinging
just like,
around?
That just looks stupid, guys.
I just feel like
it's like Earth's rat tail or something, just like flying through the.
What if it just snaps right in the middle and then it flings all the way around Earth?
Well, if it snaps right in the middle, it's not going to go flinging around Earth. It's going to go flying off into space.
The counterweight end is going to fly off into space. The other end it is going to fall down.
And what is this rope made out of?
Well, there's where the technology comes in. Hemp.
It is made out of hemp.
Alas, hemp is not strong enough, and people will be too tempted to
at first I thought you said
smoke
ham.
Yes, ham. Yes, our ham rope technologies are not nearly up to snuff. No, carbon nanotubes, which is something that was only recently invented in, I'd say, the last 4 or 5 years. Carbon nanotubes are the strongest substance on Earth now, and up until that, the space elevator technology has been waiting for something strong enough to hold the force, because basically it's got a counterweight at one end and it's got the Earth on the other end, and it's being stretched all the time. So you have to have something that can take the force of the stretching.
And if it breaks in one place, you're fucked.
Yeah, and everyone within a 22,000 mile radius is fucked, which is everyone.
Ow, 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 ow.
And what's kind of cool is we're talking about a 3-foot strip. And it's like maybe less than an inch thick, 3 feet wide, and 60,000 miles long. Such a thing has never been invented yet. But there is an American company that has created a carbon nanotube length of about a mile, and they've been testing it out for tensile strength, and it seems to be pretty cool. And so there's a Japanese company now that says that they're going to have a space elevator within 30 years, or maybe by 2050, so within 40 years. And there's an American company that's also trying to develop space elevators, and they haven't set a time limit yet, although one American company says they can do a lunar space elevator by the year 2020, which means the same thing on the surface of the moon. So that would help us put a base on the moon, because
like from the Earth to the moon, like an elevator.
No, it's an elevator from the moon's surface up into space. So if we start colonizing the moon, it would make it easier to get off.
So there's going to be a space elevator on Earth and one on the moon, just whipping around.
Yeah.
I just like that.
If you're on one, you can high five somebody on the other one.
I like that putting one on Earth is the more practical. Okay, it goes from Earth out, and so America's like, oh, we're not even gonna fuck with that. We're gonna put one on the moon for when we have our moon base, when that happens.
Or they would just look pretty on a full moon. It would have like little,
and there's the moon's rat
little
tail
ribbons.
right there. America built that.
It's like, have you seen the ribbon dances in the Olympics? Is that an Olympic event yet?
I feel like that's somebody building a skyscraper, but just starting with the elevator. Like, we'll build the building. We'll get to that. But first off, let's just have a giant.
I think we need to talk.
We don't need walls.
What is at the end of this elevator?
Giant space orgies.
Nothing.
I'm sorry. Sporgies.
Sporgies. Go on your spell-evator.
What's going to be going on the way up the space elevator? Orgy might be a good idea, because we're talking about a much cheaper in terms of energy trip, but a much longer trip. To get from Earth to the geosynchronous orbit is a 5-day trip up the space elevator. So we're envisioning like
Woodstock,
airplane-like things that climb up the space elevator, and think about taking a 5-day flight on American Airlines.
So it is a fucking train just going up.
Yeah, it's a train
That's
into
what I'm
space.
saying. It's just like it's a party bus.
It's like party.
It's basically girls gone wild in space.
If you've ever taken a Greyhound across the country, you know how exciting that could be.
It was a good time.
But that's our show.
That's our show. Thank you very much, Jacob Harper. Jacob Harper, you got places to be, so we're going to let you go.
Do you want to repeat what you just told us?
I just said that basically I had a bowl and a Sons of Anarchy and eggnog ice cream waiting for me at home.
Why are you separating the
sounds
bowl
like
and the
a-
eggnog ice cream? Aren't you going to put the eggnog ice cream into the bowl?
I don't know why I separated those. You're just going to have to put your thinking cap on and figure that one out for yourself.
He's going to do something else with the bowl. What else can you do with bowls?
Where can they find you online?
You can find me on freejacobharper.com. Also, my sketch group Super Kudzu. I believe right now we just have a Facebook page. And we are also on the Twitter at Super Kudzu.
Click like, people. How hard is it to click like?
Yeah.
Oh, how hard is it to leave a review for us on iTunes? Not that hard, I shouldn't think. Find us there or find us at sciencejerks.com. We also have a Twitter at the Science
At
Jerks.
the Science Jerks. Not to be confused with our website, Science Jerks.
Made sense when we were doing it. In retrospect, not the best idea.
I will like it.
Thanks. Maybe you're going to like our Twitter.
You could like
Yeah.
us, like our
I will-
Facebook.
you guys, I will get on. I will get on the Twitters. I will like that shit.
Favorite our
I will
Twitters.
favorite it.
You can also find me at 999 RPMs on Twitter.
I'm at Dave Chacho, and you can email us, Dave at ScienceJerks.com, Chan at ScienceJerks.com.
Oh, that shit, man.
Send us pictures of ham ropes.
If you come up with a good tensile strength ham rope, email us
Something that is both
immediately.
strong and delicious. They both need to
Have some people over and show it off because ham ropes attract vermin and wild animals.
Well, not up in space.
Oh, that's true.
But down on the ground, yeah, you have concern because people gnaw right through that thing. But once you get up a few miles,
Barry ate my ham rope.
You have to-
Now it's useless.
You have to start eating your 60,000-mile ham rope almost immediately.
Yeah.
Or it's going to go
Yeah.
bad.
Someone ate a big old chunk out of it, man.
thanks for listening.
See you next week. It's by the teepee. It's by the wigwam. It's by the teepee. It's by the wigwam. You're too
Moving right along. Dugga-dug, dugga-dug.